Welcome everybody. First things first, as always, if I could just get a quick audio visual check, please. Let me know that you guys can see my charts clearly and hear me all right by letting me know how your day is going. As always, after confirmation that I know I'm not just talking to myself, because that has happened before, I will hop into some charts, you guys. The nice refreshing bounce from Bitcoin. I know many people think that I'm a perma bear. All Gucci. Right on. Thank you, Adrian. Good to see you, good sir. Thank you all for joining. Other stews in the house. Right on. All right, guys. Well, let's hop right into it. I hope you are all having a fantastic evening or day, morning, whatever time it is. Bitcoin has seen a nice bounce. It is nice and refreshing to see. I'm going to go into the good and the bad of this chart. You guys know that I have been quite bearish overall for the last, 2 months now. But understand that I am able to set my bias aside. I took a long, you guys, in my last stream. Yes, I was very bearish, but I had mentioned that I really thought we were coming down towards 82K to end up tapping this Stuber fib. Again, I was told it wouldn't happen, and there we are. Perfect long entry there. I had mentioned that I was looking to hedge because I was also in another short. I'm still in this short from back here, little one, or rather a quarter of it is left. And I did take another short up here, and that's all since been closed off. I did take this hedge long, and as we started breaking some of this structure, I ended up closing that short position. That being said, those of you in my Telegram know that I've recently taken a hedge short to my long position. But let's do one thing at a time here, you guys. Just hopping into why exactly I was looking at this long, right? For those of you who were in my stream, my last one, whatever day that was, you'll know that I was talking about 82K. And my reasoning for that, basically, that we broke this structure. I was very vocal about the fact that I was really watching that 87K level. We never ended up getting the swing fail this time. We actually ended up breaking above it. And yeah, at some point, I did take some scalp shorts in this area. Some were profitable. I ended up taking a loss at the end because the trend was broken. That's totally fine. But other than that, ended up shorting that bounce because as soon as it looked weak, I was looking to get back short into this market. And then after that, we get down to my 886 or my 786 rather. And as always, that's when I'm looking to play a Stuber fib, you guys, that's where I'm starting my entries. So unfortunately, I never got my other entries. I also had orders basically on the way down towards my invalidation for that hedge position. So I only got my first entry. It is what it is. That is trading. But yeah, I never got the rest of my laddered entries, but this position's running great. I think I only have about 20% of this position still running at this point because I've been taking profits on the way up. Because again, guys, my bearish biases have not been invalidated yet. I want to be very clear about that. I'm willing to play the long side when I see the setup, but there's still, I do have concerns about this market. And basically, yeah, my reasoning for that, you guys, this is a new chart for you guys. This is my monthly chart. There is some very serious concerns that I have with this monthly chart, you guys. There's no way to sugarcoat it. You guys know I've been mainly very vocally bearish about the weekly chart, but I decided to take a look at the monthly chart the other day, look at some order blocks and stuff like that. Guys, it does not look good. Every time in the past, I mean, in the last 4 times that this has happened, it has been actual cycle reversals. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that it's the bear market, but this is a massive, massive red flag to me. On the way down from this 20K top on the way down, we set this order block. We end up breaking above it and boom, we retest it. That's bull market on. We end up setting this little guy here. When we had that little fake out rally, I guess that second pump to the upside to break all-time highs last bull market, we ended up losing that block. We flipped it into resistance, and that was bear market on. Yeah, a good chunk of the move already played out. But just saying it how it is, that was very devastating to the market when we lost that support and turned it into resistance. Same thing on the way down. We end up finally breaking one of these blocks here. to the upside. We even come back, retest that resistance as support. And what do you know? We get a bull market. So guys, I'm just going to leave this chart here for a sec and I'll let you draw your own conclusions. I just have my concerns with it. I'm not trading based on the monthly chart anyways. Yes, it's confirming that I'm still comfortable trading the downside right now. This is just another red flag that, I've been pointing out several red flags on the weekly chart. And unfortunately, I mean, you guys, the Moon Boys have been so loud about this monthly chart and how great it was until about a month ago. That stopped. And I have not seen anybody else talk about it since. It is getting ignored now that there's a big red engulfing candle breaking structure to the downside like that. Everybody is now ignoring this chart. So, we reclaim this support rather than flipping it into resistance. And then, I would say that not all hope is lost at that point. But if we just start getting rejected along this level and we can't reclaim it, that just doesn't look good to me, you guys. And then, of course, zooming into the weekly chart. Maybe we end up getting some sort of a break above, if there is still 4 days left on this weekly candle. So it could very easily end up pumping to the upside, closing green, reclaiming this box as support. I mean, I couldn't really complain at that point. It would look very good to me. Something that I still would have my concerns with would be now that we broke this structure, we have now lost our higher low. Even though we could still close above it, even a wick on a weekly like that, I'm taking that very serious. And I would consider that a break. And you guys know what I look at on the 5-minute chart, the 1-minute chart, the 4-hour chart, all of it. You guys, unfortunately, if we bounce, Bitcoin has some very, very heavy resistance at this level from basically 102 up to 106K. And then honestly, all-time highs around 110. And even a little, I'd say up to 115. I could see maybe we get some sort of a push to the upside, just get a little liquidity grab, kind of like last cycle. But here's the thing, you guys, is at first I agreed with that theory. I thought there was a good chance that we're going to get one more big push to the upside and then have our cycle end. The thing is, a lot of people are starting to mention that now. A lot of people are very comfortable with the idea of only one more push, and I'm going to sell everything at the top this time. I'm going to be ready, kind of a thing. What if that's what's going to be unexpected about this price action, is if we don't actually get that bounce and we do just drop off a cliff with, if the monthly candle doesn't recover, or if the weekly candle actually closes below some of these important levels, there's potential for a crazy drop, in my opinion. Everybody keeps talking about, especially earlier in the season, or the cycle rather, but even now everybody says, this cycle's going to be different. And honestly, you guys, I've been saying this for a while now. I do think this cycle's going to be very different, but I think it is not necessarily the different that people are expecting. And guys, I don't want to sound permanently pessimistic about this. There is so many opportunities, and this is all very theoretical at this time, right? Like, I'm not YOLOing into a big short right now and expecting to ride it down for the next year or two. I'm not expecting that kind of behavior. The market will go up, it will go down. There will be bounces, there will be longs to be taken. And if we break any of my weekly concerns, even if we close candle bodies above the 786 or the 886 rather, above my purple box here, I would be a lot more open to the idea of going further based on the structure. The RSI, you guys know this has been a big concern of mine for all of 2025. Is just that, another thing is, if we could break this bearish divergence here, or this trend line on my RSI, at that point, I would be willing to consider that. I think we're actually in a continuation at that point. I would think that if we break this trend line, I think that's an early warning sign that we are going to continue to the upside and get that, either one more push or more, right? At that point, I'll just be bullish again. That's my thing, is I don't really have an interest in looking for a target on this long of a time frame. Everything's so uncertain. Anything can happen in the markets right now. It's just basically, while I have this bearish structure, I'm going to be considering that the downside is a possibility. You know, I have a lot of people telling me that, well, that's silly because one tweet can totally wreck you on a short kind of a thing. That's true, but that's why we have invalidations. That's why we have take profits. And that's why we trade charts and not tweets, right? I personally have no interest in trading fundamentals. I only want to trade the charts. And guys, if that is something that interests you, that is something that I go over in my Telegram channel all the time. Here, I was talking about this, that long that I took from 82.1. You know, I was talking about this and keeping you guys up to date in my Telegram with how that position was going. This is all based on chart structure. Just had nothing to do with tariff announcements, nothing to do with war announcements, no insider trading, nothing like that. This is all just basic technical analysis that I'm throwing out there. So, and I also teach my Stuber fibs, just like I'm showing many examples in my videos, you guys. This is actually a public video here. This first one, you can find it on Financial Summit's YouTube page, or also it's pinned to my YouTube, to my Twitter account as well. YouTube Trading, all one word. But also for those of you in the Telegram channel, there is a couple of pinned messages, and this video is one of them. And this is where I really break down the structure, the foundation of the Stuber fibs, why I pull them, how I recognize the ranges and the pivot points and that sort of thing. So if that is something that interests you, you guys do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link and follow the steps in the description down below. But guys, yeah, like I said, I trade structure. I don't trade fundamentals, nothing like that. I do want to go into this position. Those of you in the Telegram channel were already made aware of this, that I was taking another hedge short here. Basically, I was looking at this Stuber fib here. We were starting to struggle in the 786, 886 pocket. I actually just recently hit my second last order. I just missed my last order, was right around here. And my invalidation is above my 115. But this is a hedge, right? Because I do have that long position open as well. But now, just since we're showing potential weakness here, I just wanted to get myself into another short as well. So if this position ends up getting stopped out, I'm totally fine with that, because then my long will just take control again. And if we reverse from here and we do end up seeing some of that, you know, very serious bearish structure that I've been talking about, then I'm in another great short to add to the one that I have at 101,626 as well. That I still got a quarter of that one running. So basically, the way I'm looking at this, guys, is it's a very stress-free position to be in. And that's not something that many traders can say right now. Emotions are crazy right now. But since I've just prepared for both scenarios, I really don't care which way this market goes at this point. It's a great feeling to have. And yeah, so we're just going to have to see right now. I mean, I do see some strength from the bulls. Also, something to consider is I did warn about this as well in my Telegram. Even though I was taking this hedge, we did already technically test this Stuber fib, and it did play out once, right? We hit the 0.5 fib after hitting the entries, at least hitting the 786, right? So the fact that it did technically hit its first target, I consider it that it has played out once. And at that point, it is more risky to play again. I usually like to look for that initial reaction. As we tap away at resistance, there's more of a chance that it breaks through. But again, since I already have a long position open anyways, I'm still open to the idea of playing potential resistance here. Because there's an opportunity that it might be a very nice move to the downside, basically. One thing to consider about that is my 4 hour has not quite hit my 214 fib target. Quite often it is front run a little bit, so it would be quite natural to pull back at this point. But it is something to consider, right? We haven't quite got that far. It is very possible we pull up a little higher. Even if I look at pulling a opposite fib, right? If I pull from this resistance here and start looking for some resistance here, yeah, the 786, 886 is actually a little bit higher. And that would start at basically 92.1 up to 93.5 would be the 786, 886 from that way. So hard to say what's going to happen. Like I said, I'm happy to go either way from here. We'll just have to see. Let me just get my regular fibs up here. I want to check a few indicators as well here, you guys. I wanted to bring up So this red box up here would still be my fib if I use it based on these swing points here. That's why that red box is there. And that's exactly why I ended up taking a short in the last stream when I said the 1 minute looked weak. Was taking a short because the 1 minute had a Stuber fib setup that was right at a 4-hour Stuber fib setup. So when they kind of blend together like that, that's one of my favorite positions to get into because my stop loss was based off of a 1 minute. So I was able to get my entry. I can't remember exactly where it was. Maybe someone else can remember, but it was somewhere in this wick. So the stop loss, when we started breaking structure and on the 1 minute, the stop loss was very tight for the size of move that I ended up riding down to this level, right? So that was absolutely huge risk reward. So that's where I love getting those entries because yes, I am technically in that case. I was trading something based on the 4-hour, but I really dialed in my entry by playing the 1 minute. Let me just catch up on the chat a little bit here, you guys. Thank you all so much for being here with me. We go into 56? Maybe. Who knows? Cup and handle on the weekly, compare monthly, weekly of 2021, or sorry, 2020. Let me go back. What did you say? February 2020? Oh, so way back. Oh, like this guy here. Oh, no. Further, 2020. This one, maybe? Oh, yes, this one. Here's the thing about this one, is this one actually tested a Stuber fib and then found support there. It found the 786, 886 fib pocket perfectly. COVID pushed it there, whatever. If we got the same structure as that right now, it would take us down to like 30K or 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there, if we ended up getting the same type of structure there. So that was a massive cup and handle. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it is possible. I see what you're saying that, you know, here's a cup, here's a handle. But at this point, that may have mostly played out already, right? Most of this move would have already happened. So at some point, you're going to get a retracement if that is what happened. I'm not sure what the fib extensions are and stuff for cup and handles. I've never back tested cup and handles myself. So I don't have a specific strategy when looking for targets or anything like that. So I assume you'd be looking at some sort of a measured move. And that measured move has played out already. So it's very possible we're going to see a correction. Even if that was a bullish pattern, in my opinion, that already happened. But again, guys, like, yes, obviously we have been staircasing higher. My big concern, honestly, is just that we have this big divergence on the RSI. Like I said, as soon as we break that, I am totally okay with the possibility that we're running to the upside again. That's what happened this leg up. It happened after last bear market. But that's a very serious signal that I take. I talk about back testing on this channel a lot, and that's exactly why I've been able to keep a level head, because that's my favorite back tested signal. That with a double top with that type of bearish divergence has been my favorite trade setup for over 3 years. I have back tested the shit out of it. I have something like an 87% hit rate with that. That goes for the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 4 hour, and now the weekly. I play it on every time frame, and I don't care what's happening fundamentally, because when I went back and back tested several years of data, I never went back and figured out what was happening fundamentally at those times. Again, I trade the charts. That's a very specific pattern that I look for. So as soon as we end up breaking that, I am totally on board with being a moon boy again. That's all Bitcoin has to do, to shut me up, to shut up my bearish theories. That's all it has to do. I've been warning about it since December, and it just hasn't yet. So I hold on to my theory at this point. Every trade setup eventually gets invalidated, right? But if this doesn't break, just understand how long that can drag on a weekly time frame. Or what happens if we get something like this? You know, we just kind of flatline a little bit. We come up, like I said, there's a good chance since we broke structure, there's a chance we get one of those. And that's actually the market cycle top, either a lower high or even that liquidity grab, either or. Very possible scenarios. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be very likely, in my opinion, if we got something like this after breaking that structure, we come back up to that 786, 886, and we see the RSI do something like, you know, hitting that trend line again as the price is hitting that resistance, for example. It's all very theoretical at this point, so it's not in the charts yet, but this is definitely something that I will be watching for. If the RSI drops off a cliff and then we end up getting a third retest of, or a fourth retest of this trend line as we're back at this resistance, really anywhere, basically from the 786 and up towards, as long as it doesn't invalidate my 115, anywhere in these price levels, if we have that divergence on the RSI still continuing, I am going to get very bearish again. But again, the RSI instead does something like this. I will be a moon boy with everyone else, I promise. It just hasn't happened yet. So to pretend these red flags aren't there is just something I can't do, just because it's been playing out so well. And there's so many indicators that are warning, you know, like I said, I've back tested the shit out of this signal on the RSI. The Wave Master has this big overextended reversal warning. On this, we see these bars down here. This is high frequency trading bots pushing the downside, right? We're pushing down. On top of that, we have that cup and handle pattern that we just talked about, which would actually have played out already. So there's just a few things that I need confirmations before getting overly bullish again. And I'm totally willing to. I would love to be a moon boy again. Because here's the thing, guys. Like, while I'm sitting here being bearish, it's just that I'm open to looking to playing the downside with leverage. Understand, I still have my spot bags. My altcoins and everything are getting hammered just like everybody else's. And on the other side, when we go up, then I'm also just like everyone else. And yes, my portfolio is growing too. So I have no complaints. If we go to the upside, if we start breaking my levels and stuff like that, we start invalidating my bearish theories, all that's going to change is I'm going to be trading leverage to the upside more than I am currently. That's the only thing that'll change. Hey, Gary, good to see you here. Looking at those 1 minute candles for the last hour feels like watching paint dry. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? We are at resistance right now. Like I said, that's why I just took that Stuber short there. Got my average entry right at 90,617. Like I said, never quite hit my final entry before invalidation, but whatever. It is what it is. And like I said, if this gets stopped out, then my long is just going to take control again. I just want to see something here. Okay, so on the immediate downtrend here, whether you want to call it right here, microanalyzing, or here, whatever, when we ended up breaking that structure on the 1 minute, notice that's after touching the 4-hour support there. Do we end up getting one? Oh, very close. Never quite came down to the 786 there. But yeah, very close. That's ideally what I look for. But especially when I'm looking at a 4-hour time frame, you know, there's a chance the fib is slightly off, or just things get front run and stuff. So I always do front run a little bit anyways. But I was just taking this based off the 4-hour. I wasn't actually zoomed into the 1 minute that time. Unfortunately, only hit my first entry. I really thought we would go down to the 886 at least, in which case my average entry would have been somewhere in the middle here. But whatever, it is what it is. I want to check a couple indicators on. I was actually going to look at some indicators on the 4-hour earlier. What's the Algo Master saying? So the Algo Master is showing the same bearish Stuber fib I had already pointed out. Pulled from this high. We got the red box there is the Stuber fib there. This is also one of those times, though, it has already been tested and it has played out, right? Oh, they're the blue ones. Yeah, it hit first target there, second target there. So that one has obviously played out already. It's important to know that there is still resistance there if we go up there. But in my opinion, it's I'd be less bearish on it if we keep testing it again, basically. Let's see. What's the trend master saying? We still have a sell signal here. Holding above, I actually want to delete this fib here because I think it's blocking something. We are right around invalidation of this sell signal, basically on the 4-hour. This is a trend master indicator. This is one of those things where, yeah, you know, the indicator is getting right near resistance right now as we got very close to my 214 bullish Stuber fib target. Let's see what else. Volume delta, we have resistance up ahead. That would be our point of control. Liquidations, we are technically just above this, but notice that we've been hugging it a lot recently, and whenever we get above it, we quickly lose it. So we have to see if we can actually, you know, get a bounce off of that liquidation band. Actual liquidation levels, I mean, I've been talking about this for a while, that I thought it was very possible we go up towards 99K. Just because there was this liquidity pocket up here of high leverage liquidations. But as we climb, you can tell FOMO's building because we are starting to build liquidation levels to the downside as well. So I could see it going either way with that. Got the weekly open above us, January open above us. Yeah. Well, like I said, guys, I'm prepared for anything because I still have the long from down here. I think we're starting to get towards resistance. I don't know. And that's exactly why I felt like hedging this short, just because we're getting near resistance. We're just starting to see a little bit of weakness. I was willing to take this hedge. So now we just see what happens. I do treat my hedges just like a normal position where I will still be willing to take profit on the way down. Because you know what, if we just go down, we hit my first 2 take profits, and then we end up bouncing and my long takes over, then hey, at least I made some profits on that hedge position as well. But I would definitely be looking at leaving at least half of it run in that case, just in case. Ethereum, we are, well, right at a fib pocket right now. It's actually quite a bit of strength there, but we are technically at a fib pocket there. I wonder if I should throw a short in on that. Algo Master confirming the same Fibonacci pull. I don't like that we have a higher sell signal and a higher buy signal on the trend master indicator. That is one thing that I try to avoid trading against, that because it's pointing out a very obvious trend with that indicator. Yeah, mixed feelings about the Ethereum chart right here on the 5-minute, but I do see reasons why, you know, I being I'm already in a few shorts. I'm in an XRP short, 2 BTC shorts, and a BTC long. I don't know if I want to open another position right now, because also if my Bitcoin hedge short gets stopped out, it's likely that this position would also get stopped out. So I don't know if I want to take another one, but yeah, you know, be careful with Ethereum right now. If you were thinking about FOMOing long, I would at least reconsider that myself personally, unless you have some sort of back tested strategy where you know, if your rules have been met, just, I can't ignore the fact that it's at resistance right now. Yeah, XRP not looking all too strong, in my opinion. Notice we ended up losing just since we had this high. Well, that's basically a double top, but technically that next wick was slightly higher. However, we wanted to do that, even if we had our structure down here, either way, we lost that high or low. And then if you pull that Stuber fib, again, this is one of those times it's already played out. So yeah, it's capped in hindsight, not all that useful, but for educational purposes, after losing that structure there, we came back. This is one of those times you would have hit all three or three of the four, depending how many positions you ladder in, but it would have hit at least 3 entries there. And then it did hit the 2 Stuber targets. And from there, if I was in that position, I would have taken a quarter of my profits at both of those levels, and I would have let the other half ride with a stop, break even stop. Or wait, am I in an XRP short? Let me just check my count. I've been entering so many scalps lately. Oh, I am in an XRP short. Ha. So I must have taken that earlier based off something back here. Jeez. The Bitcoin hedge short, still looking good for now. I like that we're starting to struggle with the 786. I really want to see us stay below this fib pocket. I would really like to see us take a quick nuke to the 0.5 fib at least. Ooh, Mount Gox just moved 12,000 Bitcoin, but who cares anymore? Yeah, I mean, the amount of times we see Mount Gox FUD and all that sort of stuff. And really, there's so many big wallets moving big amounts nowadays. It's hard to say what's actually going to affect. But that is always something to, spark a little fear into the market, and also something to consider that, if that is legit, that they are planning on moving it to sell it. I mean, that is a lot of sell volume, right? So, and it makes sense that they would be looking to do that after a pump, right? Especially if they think that we're in a strong downtrend. It would make sense that when they get some sort of a strong bounce like that, I mean, we'd be at least at the 618 fib retracement. It would make sense to start selling there rather than them, panic selling into the breakout to the downside. They at least wait for some sort of bounce. Yeah, but that's all just, I don't trade fundamentals anyways, but it's still good to know. Still good to be aware of those things, because even if you're not looking at trading fundamentals like myself, let's say there's an important crypto speech coming up, or, job numbers, or, any of those meetings, those speeches that happen. Understand that I don't trade based on those events. However, I am usually aware of their existence just so that I know if the market is going to get crazy volatile or not. Sometimes when those events are about to take place, I just stop looking at the chart for a couple hours and let the chart kind of calm down and start forming some healthy structure, because, the market can get very volatile in those situations. And rather than trying to play how I think announcements are going to affect the markets, I'd rather just let the charts decide a direction and then basically play the trend, right? Start looking for those new setups and stuff like that. Oh, nice. Dropped below the 786. Good to see. What's my opinion of CME gaps? I'm glad you asked. I will fully admit that they usually fill. But the thing is, they don't have to fill, is the only thing. It's not even just CME gaps, honestly. It's whenever we have big moves in the price without any sort of consolidation, like down here, we start losing these levels. Well, it makes sense we would just dump just as fast as we climbed here, because we didn't really build anything in here. So yeah, very similar, right? Like if you get down to those levels, you're probably going to fill them. Generally speaking, you're going to fill the gaps, but there is the very odd time where it doesn't happen. I remember that's when not this recent, bull market, but the one before that, so many people got blindsided by that because there was a CME gap that never filled by like $25 or $50 or something. And people were like, no, we have to go and fill it. And a lot of people missed out on a lot of gains because of that, just for simply not willing to admit that something doesn't have to happen, right? But yeah, I will give credit where credit is due. I think there's a lot of validity towards looking at CME gaps. I personally don't, but that's just because I have such specific systematic trade setups that I trade. But I can see how that would be a key piece of analysis in your trade setup. You know, if you have a list of rules that you need to follow to enter a trade or anything like that, which everybody should, in that case, you know, that could be a good rule to throw in there. But it all depends what you've back tested and stuff, right? Oh, that's painful. I had this drawn out and I meant to look at it during this stream and I really wanted to short GloFin. Yeah, sorry guys. I know not everybody's into trading altcoins, especially lower cap ones and stuff like that. This is a trading channel, so just basically any chart that catches my eye, I'm going to look at. I don't care what the asset is. But GloFin is one that I've been shorting recently. Just a little bit when I see the odd Stuber fib setup. And unfortunately, this is one that I was looking for. And I totally missed it. I forgot to set an alert. I also never set blind orders because I knew I'd be busy with the stream and stuff. But yeah, that's just an example of another one that played out, right? We tested the 786. We've hit the 0.5 fib already. We'll see if we hit the 214 or not, but so far so good there. I'm really debating setting my stop loss on this hedge at break even. But because I'm kind of thinking that if we get up to these levels, I could even have it in a small profit. If we got up to these levels, I think it's very likely that we would come test this Stuber fib on the 1 minute. And if that happens, I think I could get into a better short with a higher entry, tighter stop loss. I am going to do that. I'm going to update my stop loss. I don't really want to see the price get back above this 886 fib anyways. But if it does, like I said, I think even if I want to reshort, I think I can get a better entry on this. But if it stays below this bigger Stuber fib or even below the 886, I think it's quite likely that it tests these lower fibs, which would be around 89.3K and 88.3K approximately. Those would be my targets, basically. And now we see what happens. How are you all doing in the chat? I see I still got 77 of you guys paying attention. 78 even. Guys, if you do appreciate my level-headed approach on crypto, you like that I show you my personal favorite trading strategies free of charge here. If you appreciate all of this, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe. And guys, if you want more of my analysis, you want to follow more closely, just, you know, my take on the markets, some of my trade setups, just my ideas in general, and just learn more about my trading strategies, do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code on the screen or click the link down below in my description and follow the steps there to join. Yeah, posting, I think every day, several times, just kind of keeping you up to date with my thoughts on the market. So if you do like how I analyze things, how I pull my ranges, how I pull my fibs, how I look at structure, how I keep a level head and ignore all fundamentals and news and that sort of thing, again, hope to see you there. I'm the 78th. I'm not paying attention. Yeah, I don't even pay attention to myself sometimes. Shorting and mentoring at the same time. Adrian gets it. Hungry Hobo, good to see you here, buddy. Hungry for them gains. Ooh, I'll take a look at that. Why not? Ooh, Ethereum is looking a little toppy there. Okay, yeah, let's check out Doge. You said the weekly, did you not? Let's go way back. Let's go to the weekly. I would. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this chart. I guess the fib that I would pull on the weekly here from a bullish perspective. And before I check the bullish, I want to just check something. I would have thought it would have bounced a little bit higher. But yeah, looking for a bullish pullback. I could see us actually on the immediate trend. I would say Doge is actually very close to a 786 right now. And the reason why I look at this structure here is because the most recent structure would be this high, and this is our higher high. So this would be our higher low. So that's why I'm pulling it from here rather than from the market bottom. Just because I would feel different about it if, let's say, from here we had this little pullback, then we set another higher high, and then we ended up breaking that. I would think that we're basically retracing the whole move and going to the Stuber fib that would be pulled from back here, basically. But since we don't have that second structure, I would still be looking at something like this. So, you know, that's the thing. A lot of altcoins, there's a lot of coins that are technically right around support levels, and Bitcoin as well, right? That's why I took that hedge long at, what was it, 82.1K. Even though I'm bearish, I'll give credit where credit is due. Just to clean things up, I just want to make a new fib pocket up here. But yeah, I would really like to see it just fall off a cliff right now real quick and tag my first target at least. That would make me feel all warm and cozy. Pulled it from the bottom. That's a fair mistake to make. And honestly, it might not even be wrong, right? I mean, if the market does just drop off a cliff, I think it's very likely that we would test the full cycle super fib. But I think that's that. Like, and guys, I don't want to trigger anybody, so I don't like pulling this. But this is one of those examples where with Bitcoin, technically, I could see us going to the full one, just because we did have that structure, right? We had this pump and we had the one higher, and now we're losing that structure. So like I was talking about with the monthly chart, I mean, if this support holds as resistance now on the monthly, things look very bad. And in that case, I would consider, if this is a big if, guys, okay? I want to be very clear about this right now. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to offend a few people. It happens all the time. But if this is a bear market, that's a big if. Like I said, I pointed out everything I would be willing to accept as invalidations earlier. So there is things that invalidate this. But as it stands, if this is a big cycle reversal here, I would expect to test the Stuber fibs on the weekly. Chart structure is chart structure. I don't care if it's the weekly chart, the daily, the 4 hour, the 5 minute, the 1 minute. I've shown on this channel many times. I show in my Telegram channel all the time that I'm looking at several different time frames, different assets. They love being respected. And I know it feels like that can't happen again. And honestly, maybe it doesn't. Now that there's ETFs and stuff like that, I totally get the feeling or the understanding that maybe that doesn't happen again this cycle. But you do have to understand that if I just, and I know I've shown this before, let's go back to the log chart here just so that everything fits in the screen. But many of you guys know where I'm going with this already. The Stuber fibs, like I said, it doesn't seem to matter what kind of time frame you're looking at, right? Yes, this looks a little funny. It's just because it's the algorithmic chart. But just pulling from bear market bottoms to bull market tops, look where we end up finding support. So far, it has happened every single cycle. So it's not that I'm saying we're going there, but just understand it's at least possible. A lot of people think that, no, crypto can't go that far. Those of us who have been here for more than one cycle already know that this is a possibility. Because if you have been through one full cycle, you have experienced what crypto can do and how damaging it can be, especially if you've held altcoins and that sort of thing through a bear market. You understand where I'm coming from with this. If it's your first cycle, I understand that it feels like there's no way that could possibly happen. I agree that it doesn't have to happen, but anytime someone says that can't happen, they're wrong. Anything can happen. The market doesn't give a shit what we think. I don't think we would end up staying down there long. I don't think anyone would have enough time to make a decision to pull the trigger if you never already had orders there. But I really do think that if we have a bear market, I think we would test the 786. But again, we're going to have to see what structure does if that happens. Now that I got that bear porn out of the way and possibly triggered a lot of people, hopefully I didn't. Again, guys, just understand what trading is, right? Trading, like all the analysis in the world doesn't matter if you don't have an execution plan. So there's things I look for like that, just to understand if that happens, I won't be the one in panic mode, not having a clue what's happening. I would understand what is happening if we get that. Whereas a lot of people who are saying that it can't happen, if it does happen, they aren't going to have a clue what to do. So it's always, always so important to basically, the number one thing you can do as a new trader is understand that no matter how strong you feel about something, you can be wrong. You can be very wrong. And anything can happen. Must be a billionaire now shorting Griffane. I haven't shorted it that many times. Oh, I wish I still had the first one I took, though. Oh, man, it was like way at the top. Guys, again, if you do appreciate this video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these. Hopefully you're taking something useful out of these. Honestly, the thing is, guys, before you do any trading, make sure you're back testing a system, right? Don't take my word for it. Don't take someone else's word for a strategy. Like, put it into practice in like, let's say a paper trading, or just like using the replay feature kind of thing, to make sure that you are seeing things in a way. Like, there's a chance that even after I explain these, maybe you're looking at structure slightly different than me, or there's something you're missing. Just understand that you should always do back testing before you're actually trading. You should always kind of have an idea, a plan of, you need something systematic that you can repeat. I know it's cliche. I know every other YouTuber and everybody says that, but it's so true. If you can't replicate your trade setups, then how can you trade long term, basically? Gut feelings don't work very good. I maybe know I only know one person who trades fundamentals well. I know a lot of traders, but I only know one who does that well. And I promise you, he's not trading a 5-minute or a 15-minute or even a 4-hour. He's trading a weekly time frame. It's very different. How do I determine where to draw the Fibonacci? Well, there is a video in my Telegram channel, by the way. There's one public video. It's on Financial Summit's YouTube channel. It's called Stuber Fibs. You can probably just YouTube Stuber Fibs, and I assume it'll come up, but this is what the thumbnail looks like. It's also pinned to my Twitter account, StuTube Trading. But if you're in the Telegram channel, there's an additional video. This one's a very basic one, basically a beginner steps. In this video that's in my Telegram for members only, it really goes into the foundation and the structure and how I recognize ranges where I'm pulling fibs and how I'm treating them and that sort of thing. So that's in there. If you're interested, do yourself a favor, scan the QR code or click the link in the description down below, follow the steps. It would take more than a minute or two to really break down how I pull those fibs. It's quite simple, honestly, but there's so many places you can make mistakes, and just understanding what kind of ranges you're looking for, what kind of what the pivotal point is, noticing when structure breaks and you can start a new range, that kind of thing. So there is a little bit to it. I know some of you guys in the chat, being I know some of you, and I'm very familiar with how some of you guys trade. I know some of you guys understand them very well at this point. Hopefully you're enjoying them. Because that's the thing, guys, like, understand that however I do my analysis, we could have the exact same charts. We could have the same fibs, the same indicators, the same trend lines, absolutely everything the exact same. And I promise you, we would trade this market completely different. So that's the thing, guys. Like, even though I'm leaning bearish, that doesn't mean that people can't profit by longing. I don't want to sound that way. Like, understand that, if I'm nailing shorts, there's probably someone else who's nailing long scalps or whatever, right? It all depends how that execution goes. It doesn't really matter what direction you're trading. It doesn't matter which way your analysis points. All that matters is how you execute that trade, where you enter, where you exit. That's all that matters. You found the vid? Perfect. Adrian, no clue. Adrian understands. You're probably one of the few who would trade very similar to me. The height of the low points-ish. There needs to be certain structure breaks to go with that, though. And then the thing is, guys, I mean, for those of you who have been using these for a while, some of you guys I've taught personally and stuff like that, you know that once you start to see them, you see them fucking everywhere. There's always smaller ranges inside bigger ranges, right? So again, it all depends how your execution is. There could have been 100 trades in here, right? It totally depends what your execution plan is. But yes, you just start to see smaller fibs. You start to see them everywhere. When I look at buildings that are different heights, I see them now. Like trees, you see them everywhere. It's a good thing to have, I guess. Yeah, Woods gets it. Good to see you here, by the way. Yeah, well, it looks like we're making our way down. So again, guys, hey, for those of you who took that hedge, whether you're in my Telegram or, you just caught it during the stream, whatever, if you ended up catching that, do me a favor, hit that like button. I'm not asking too much on that one. Just kidding. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. I do have fun doing these. And honestly, it helps me keep a level head. This is kind of, I know everyone says you should have a trading journal, and I very much so treat this as my trading journal. It's easy to go back and review how I was feeling. It just helps things stick if I say things out loud. So I really appreciate doing these with you guys. Oh, shucks. You guys know how to make a guy blush. Love you all. Yeah, well, Adrian's a freaking legend. Mr. Blinders. Let's see, what else can I find? Bring up MDX Algo. Almost 64% of the market is long. We have dropped a lot, or got rid of a lot of fear. What were we at? I think we were at a fear level of 10 before. So since we've bounced, the fear is starting to back off a little bit. Longs are starting to build again. XRP has hit the 0.5 fib. Did anyone take this Ethereum trade? Just curious. I never did. But so far it is looking like it got rejected there. The indicators I use are the MDX Algo collection. There is a link in the description below. They are paid indicators. With the link down below, you do get 10% off there. I also do live streams there, by the way, as well as a handful of other great coaches. But yeah, a handful of beautiful indicators. The only other indicator I really still use is the RSI a little bit. But I've been using these indicators now for just over 2.5 years. And they keep getting better. And when the community has feedback or features they want, they will straight up add them into the indicators. That's another thing, right, guys? With the Algo Master here, notice when I turn it on and off, I get the Stuber fibs up there. I can remove my own. So this indicator actually has a feature in it. I can go down to the fib types, and I can, this is a preset thing that everybody who has these indicator has access to. So this indicator will automatically pull them. Full disclosure, it's important to know how to pull them so that you can recognize sometimes the automatic ones are slightly different, or you know, if they've already been invalidated or something like that and they pull a little later. And also I'm just able to pull them a lot faster than the indicator does. So sometimes I have first move advantage just by knowing how. But it's a great second opinion. I always go by structure first, and I look for indicators for a second opinion. And this is a great one for me because, and also sometimes it points out some that I never considered, but it also factors in volume and stuff like that. That's why they're slightly different sometimes. But sometimes it points me to trade setups that I would have missed otherwise. So a very cool indicator there. It has a ton of other features, but that's the only one I use from it. AI charting tools, yeah, automatic resistance and support levels, liquidation levels. Oh, interesting. Ethereum definitely has some high leverage liquidations to the downside. So let's say Ethereum was, even if it was going to continue bullish, in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense that it would pull back to the 786, 886 pocket down here, maybe even a little further, right? There is some liquidations down there. There's liquidations down to about 2153. So the Algo Master is actually pointing out a bullish Stuber fib here, right? So if this was a trade on its own and not a hedge, if taking that short there, I would consider taking partial profits at this point, just because, you know, it's very possible that we bounce here. We have this little swing fail where it just grabbed a little liquidity to the downside, but holding as a double bottom at this level. And also just the indicators pointing it out is it's obviously an important level. So something to consider there, because that's another thing, you guys, with indicators in general. I find that everybody always wants to use them just to force themselves into more trades, because everyone has FOMO and always wants to be in a trade. And I get it. I feel that way all the time too. But I really like using indicators as a method to avoid trades, or, you know, taking profits, downsizing positions, stuff like that. More of a risk management tool. I often use indicators for that. So don't always think that they're only there for entering positions. And that doesn't matter what indicator I'm talking about, right? That's just indicators in general. You know, if you have specific setups with indicators that lead you to take trades, also consider like, hey, if it's happening in the opposite direction, maybe I should downsize my position or close half of it or something like that, you know? All right, I'll get rid of this weekly chart. I don't want to accidentally give anyone a stroke there. Although this monthly chart is no better. Oh boy. Yeah, guys, I just want to warn you right now. Like, I know I was talking about this structure here, the fact that we lost this support here, even though, yes, it is just wicks at this point. It was broken. And I would still consider that it's very likely, if that RSI doesn't break, that I think it's very likely we would set a lower high in that Stuber fib. But that being said, honestly, even a grab up above, as long as we don't break the 115 at around 114, 115K, as long as we stay below that, if that RSI downtrend doesn't break, it just doesn't look great. I really think that'll be the first thing that makes me flip bullish again. As soon as that RSI downtrend line breaks. I got to redraw that since I reloaded this. As soon as we break that downtrend, I am open to the idea of a continuation to the upside. Until that happens, I will not consider the possibility of new all-time highs, actually. I don't think we would ever break all-time highs without the RSI breaking, though. I'm sure we would get above that. Guys, just to kind of break down, like I said, this is a very specific trade setup that I look for on all time frames, is this double top with that bearish divergence. It's not just that it's a bearish divergence. It is the fact that it's from overextended. So it's overbought conditions. But now understand, and I know I go over this all the time, probably once a week or more, overbought doesn't necessarily mean overbought in an uptrend. It's the relative strength index. So it's showing that there's a shit ton of strength in the market. But then what happens when we end up dropping that strength? This is where I started to have my concerns, was the fact that the RSI, as a lot of people were saying, oh, the RSI cooled off. Great. No, that's losing strength, in my opinion. If we would have just bounced off this 70 line and we could have continued to the upside, I think it would have been great. Even if we would have got back above right away, back into overbought, I would have been quite bullish at that point. But the way this formed and why I had my concerns back in December and early January already, when we were down here, I was calling for this double top with this exact divergence. And just to explain why I was so bearish on this, is we couldn't break this level when we had extremely strong bulls in the market. So then when we attacked that exact same resistance level, we had significantly less strength. Why would all-time highs be guaranteed if you are going at the same resistance level with significantly less strength? You couldn't break it with a ton of strength. Why would you break it by half-assing it? Like, if I couldn't destroy something with a sledgehammer, I wouldn't go grab my regular hammer out of my toolbox. How do I suppress my emotions when trading? Honestly, the best answer is a lot of back testing, because then you have a structured system in place where you know where you're going to take profits and you know where you're going to cut your losses. And from there, you just pull the trigger, you set your orders, and you walk away. Or if you're like me and you're not that emotional, you can just stare at the screen anyways and not really care. Oh, nice. Dog Surf, you took the ETH short. How is it doing? It's having a hard time going down, but so far it's holding below. Yeah, as Adrian said, the MDX algo indicators, they can be used in Forex, stocks, crypto, anything on TradingView. Took the BTC short, took a little off to pay the fees. Nice, nice. Good idea. Honestly, that's what I do too, right? Like, I am more of a scalper, so I'm very quick to close at least half of my position. Like I said, I would have closed, especially that we're starting to break some of this. I would have also taken some profits on this. Like I said, more so based off this. If this wasn't a hedge, basically. So I'm still looking for my lower fib targets. But generally speaking, though, any new position I take, I do like usually my first take profit. It's not even that it's a crazy profit, but it reduces risk and it pays the fees, and usually a little extra on top. But the big one is my first take profit is big time, just reducing my risk. And yeah, like I said, paying fees from there. If I get stopped at break even, then it doesn't matter, right? So yeah, good idea on taking profits. That's the thing. Like, honestly, guys, I would say clicking the take profit button is probably the hardest thing you can do in trading. Why no 618 and 386? Just because of a strategy that I came up with in trade. It's nothing personal against those levels. It's just I have a specific trade setup that I look for. I find that usually if we get support at the 618, it's usually that it's the candle bodies hitting the 618 and then the wicks hit the 786 anyways. I also trade with high leverage generally. So I like to keep my invalidations as tight as possible. That's also why I always ladder into my entries, right? It's not that I'm doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. It's that I take a position. I have a set amount in mind of margin I want to use. I split it up and then ladder it in basically from the 886 towards my invalidation to try and help the average entry, so that if I get stopped out, at least it's a much tighter stop. Again, just risk management. Yeah. Help to keep the emotions under control with performance enhancing drugs. Do I pull fib retracements on small moves, or is it more of a macro indicator? It really depends how actively I want to trade, because the smaller fib you pull, that means the profits are going to be that much closer, because I always play the range first and I look for the breakout with the second half of my position. So if I pull a range this small and I'm entering here, well, the first take profit is here and then here, right? You're playing the range first and then you're hoping for a breakout after. So just understand that on something like that, if it goes, let's say the price is something like this, we come back up, get the 786, we go down to here and then blast off, and oh, well, that setup never worked. No, it worked. You just pulled a very small fib and you didn't follow the rules of taking profits at the profit levels. So it really depends on the person, right? Not everybody wants to be trading tiny ranges, but there's so many ranges inside ranges. Like I don't think this one quite reached. Oh yeah, basically hit the 786, and like that one, for example, it played out, right? We actually hit the second take profit there, but it depends. Do you want to play something that small? At least the stop loss is nice and tight, right? Really, if the gains are small, then the invalidation is also very tight. But it totally depends what size range that you want to play. because the fibs, you know, they scale out to depending what size range you're playing. Yeah. Yeah. Eventually you learn or you give up. But yeah, guys, how I look at the charts, I know I went over this a couple times already, but for those of you interested, those of you who are joining late, anything like that, guys, I just basically keep up with my thoughts on the markets, you know, some of my trade strategies, many examples of Stuber fibs, and just how I look at market structure in general, some of my trade setup ideas and theories. And just, yeah, like I said, basically just how I'm looking at the markets in general. But yeah, also, as I mentioned earlier, this video breaking down Stuber fibs, really going into how I pull the fibs and how I look at the market structure and when the structure is actually showing signs of reversal and weakness and stuff like that. So if that is something that interests you and you just love looking at charts and you want to see more of my analysis and keeping up with more of my thoughts, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code, click the link and follow the steps in the description down below. With that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up here. You know my thoughts right now. Yeah, if we end up going up here, I think there's another opportunity for a potential short with nice tight invalidation up at this level, but we're going to have to see. Is it possible the Bitcoin just keeps bouncing? Yeah, you know, I do like that we ended up testing that 786. Like I said, even though I was bearish as hell, I still took that hedge because I could not resist, because that is my own trade setup. So how could I not? And it basically has played out, right? We're so close to that 214 target. So a beautiful trade there, which, yeah, in my last stream, I know I had mentioned that I was looking to hedge that. And as well in the Telegram, I had mentioned that. So again, yeah, hope to see you guys in there. With that, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here with me tonight. I really appreciate having you here. I love doing these streams with you guys. So I hope you're enjoying this. If you have been enjoying my content and my analysis in general, my level-headed approach, please, again, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.